Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. Thank you for helping us kick off our first 3D Experience webinar series here. I'm 𝘼𝘋 Grant. I'm the head of marketing here at Razorleaf. And I'm really happy and pleased to introduce Mike Craffey and 𝘼𝘽𝙊𝙃 Speck. They are going to be our presenters today, and many of you know them from being in the industry or maybe seeing them at different events. They're one of the two folks that I know have been working with the 3D Experience platform for many years. So we have some great content for you today. And as well, we'll be announcing our future events. We'll be announcing our next webinar, in fact, in May at the end of this presentation. But we do have some really great content planned for this series. So we're really glad you're here to join us here for our first one. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. We are recording this webinar, and we'll send you the recording at the conclusion in the next day or two. Even if you have friends that didn't show up, we will be sending it to everyone who registered. And please feel free to share it with others that you may know who could benefit from that. And we'll also be taking questions at the end of this session. So on the right on your GoToWebinar panel, there's a questions panel. Please feel free to add your questions as we go along here, and we will take them as we conclude the presentation. So with that, Mike's going to lead us off in the presentation. I'm going to hand it off to him.
Thank you, Julie. And you can hear me okay?
You're good.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to the Unpacking 3D Experience webinar series. In this first webinar, we're going to unpack collaboration essentials by focusing on two foundational roles of the 3D Experience platform portfolio. So the 3D Experience portfolio it's a pretty big multi-brand, multi-discipline platform. We felt it would be a good idea to really kind of unpack some of that portfolio in a series of webinars that we plan to build up over time. In this webinar, we'll start off by describing what the foundation for collaboration is all about, what its roles and applications entail, and we'll walk through, 𝘼𝘃 will walk through a scenario highlighting some of this functionality. So briefly, what is the 3D Experience platform? Well, the 3D Experience platform is a collaborative enterprise environment that empowers businesses to innovate in an entirely new way. And as you can see in the graphic on the left, it's comprised of many brands like 𝘼𝘃, 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 𝘼𝘃. And on the right, the platform has solutions for all the major industries. So as you can imagine, there's a lot to unpack. But what does a 3D Experience platform do? Or rather, what does the platform provide or enable? Well, in a nutshell, the 3D Experience platform connects people, data, and processes to enable an enterprise community or supply chain to innovate, develop, manufacture, and deliver its products. So let's dive right in and start unpacking. And what we'll be unpacking is a couple of roles that are combined to deliver the foundation for collaboration. And these two roles, IFW, also known as 3D Swimmer, and CSV, known as Collaborative Industry Innovator, are often combined into a packaged role that we call PCS, known as Collaborative Business and Industry Innovator role. Now, to be clear, these roles, it's not required that they be combined in the PCS package. Users of the platform can be assigned only IFW to gain entry to the platform. In fact, IFW, it is the entry-level role, so every user must have or be assigned IFW. This 3D Swimmer role delivers those apps that bring together employees, suppliers, customers, partners, whoever, to really enable innovation. The other half of the PCS role, or the CSV role, provides real-time collaboration that securely helps users organize, manage, collaborate on the enterprise content. The CSV role enables the collaboration to span disciplines to help users develop and deliver innovative products. So in summary, this collaboration enables users to, this collaboration foundation rather, it enables users to consolidate their work on a common platform, to collaborate socially, to exchange ideas with peers, suppliers, vendors, or customers, to store and organize data that can be shared, to discover enterprise information through intuitive search and navigate capabilities, and finally, to collaborate with other users on your intellectual property. So the 3DEXPERIENCE roles, you could think of them as licenses, deliver their capability through a collection of apps or applications and or widgets. Now, apps can be thought of as a web application, but sometimes the apps are natively installed pieces of software on the end user computer, like 𝘼𝘼𝙊𝙊𝙁, for instance. Widgets, on the other hand, get exposed using the 3D dashboard interface. The 3D dashboard is a modern, intuitive web environment that makes interacting with the platform and its data simpler. As we mentioned, the 3D Swimmer or IFW role is the entry-level role that makes up the platform services. The 3DEXPERIENCE platform is not simply a single web application. It's a collection of sophisticated services that are fully and securely integrated to deliver world-class capability and a rich user experience. For our demonstration today, we'll be focused primarily on 3D Swim, 3D Search, 3D Dashboard, and 3D Play. And although Kip may not specifically call out an app or a widget, you may see him use other apps during his segment of the webinar. The CSV role is a major contributor to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform user experience. It provides a rich collection of apps and widgets that enable users to organize, manage, and collaborate on content in a secure manner. It brings continuity to business processes and enhances the ability to make informed decisions by leveraging real-time data. As you can see, there's a pretty long list of apps that are included in the CSV role. And this provision to store, share, and manage content enables users to search and find relevant data and information for reuse. Users can also easily browse through a product structure, like a bill of material, for instance, without using a CAD license, and that's pretty handy. Although not part of our webinar today, the Collaborative Industry Innovator role, it enables CAD applications to contribute directly to a single product definition, eliminating the need to independently manage and combine separate and partial product structures. So you could imagine, sorry about that. You could imagine having a CATIA structure and a Pro-E structure and a SolidWorks structure all in one structure. Although not part of, sorry about that. For our demonstration today, we'll be focused primarily on document management, 3D Play, the bookmark editor, and collaborative tasks. So let's talk about what we're going to demonstrate. So Kip will walk through an essential collaboration scenario that will highlight the use of 3D Swim, 3D Search, 3D Play, document management, and collaborative tasks. And this is a diagram of this sort of the scenario flow that Kip will be following. And it will gives you an idea of the business process he'll be following and demonstrating the collaborative power of the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. And with that, I'm going to change presenters to Kip.
So let's take a look at 3D Swim. First, we're in our first dashboard when we first log in. Let's switch to our other dashboard, and we can see Unpacking 3DEXPERIENCE, the designer engineer's view. And when we come in here, we've already pinned the community to one of our tabs. So when we look at our communities, I have a couple of them here, Unpacking the 3DEXPERIENCE, and I've posted an image about what the process is. And I've also created one as an example of something that you may do as an enterprise. So here we have several different posts, different types of posts in here. And we have over here analytics. So if I look at the analytics, I can select it. And analytics gives me information about how many wikis, how much media, number of users per role, type, things like that, the number of posts, and that kind of stuff. So right now, we'll just kind of understand that the analytics is available. But let's focus on the center section here with the different types of posts that are here. First off, I'm going to go ahead and maximize this to get a bigger view of it. And then you'll see that I have some icons. And these icons allow me to filter the content that I'm looking at. I can select filter on posts, and it'll show me all the posts in this community. I can filter on media, and if there's any media, I will see any media posts that are there. And note that there's an image here, and it'll show me a gallery as well. I can focus on ideas. So ideas are things that people post and have different questions about different things. Maybe an idea of a new product or a new configuration of a product, things like that. Now, the other nice thing about the ideas is to be able to click on where it says pipeline, select this arrow, and I get a larger view of all the ideas that are part of this community. And in here, each idea has a different phase, and these phases are customizable. Right now, it just says new idea, concept, project plan. I could add more categories or more phases in this ideation funnel when I create the community. But for now, this is out of the box. This is how it is. And at the end of this, when it finishes or it gets to the final stage, it'll actually transition and create a project plan. So, but for now, which is beyond the scope of this discussion, but for right now, what we see is that I've got a new idea here, and that's the cutter jaw. If I click on it, you notice that it takes me to that idea, right? And then I can see the comments and things like that. So, and I can also transition that. I'm able to move it along. So now it goes into concept. Now that it's in concept, the next thing is to do is to maybe review it during a company meeting or a team meeting or something like that, and decide what to do with that. So now you see there's two ideas in the concept phase. And based on the status of them and things like that, you can move them along. And also any ideas that went out, maybe are completed or decided not to do, you can click on the show out ideas and it will show them there. So beyond ideas, I also have questions. So if I filter on questions, now somebody's posted, what's the max force for the jaws can apply? So anybody in this community can come in and answer the question. Okay, so, and I can answer it if I want to, or anybody else that has access can answer the question. So I can unfilter that, and I can also click on surveys. Now you can create surveys and they have different types of answers or questions, or different questions with multiple different types of answers. They don't have to just be yes or no or anything else, but once you post the survey, you can also see the results. So as I look at the results, I can select it and I can say show as pie graph. Now this is not very interesting because it only has one there. So but I can go back and look at this one, the jaw opening, and I can say show as pie graph. And it becomes a little bit more interesting because now you can see the comments or the results from there as well. And you can export the results and then get notified when they're available. So here are different ways to see information or collaborate amongst all the users in your organization. In the first presentation, essentially what we're doing is creating and showing the 3D swim with dashboards and the messaging apps. Turn my screen on so you can see me. So in the first part of it, the setup of it is showing the 3D dashboard, the 3D swim community, being able to create some tasks in there. In this section, what we're going to show is communities with the different types of posts, filtering, using analytics, ideas, questions, and surveys. So now we'll see this in using the wiki tree, creating a post with media and being able to view and add comments and create markups to post to a community, messages with the conversation and tag others in the comments. So let's see that in the presentation. And I left this one for the last. This is wiki pages. So if I select on wiki pages, I can see that I have a wikis tree over here. And if I click on this, it'll open up into a full screen view. And then I can select the items or the categories under it, like 3D swim, and have definitions. You can have your own company definitions or your own wiki built inside of here, how to do things or definitions of different things like that. So you could also, in your wiki page, you can hyperlink to other places. You can put media inside of these. So just different ways of being able to show information or to have different information for everybody to view. So let's go ahead and create something. I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus sign. Sorry, I'm going to undo my wiki here. I'm going to click the plus sign. And what it's going to do is ask me to select what type do I want to post. So I'm going to go ahead and just say post, and I'm going to say review specs of the spreader. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I do have to put a comment in, and I'm just going to use the same information. I'm also going to attach some media. So I'm going to say upload new media, or I could use what was there. And I'm going to go ahead and select a couple different things. I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and I'm going to say publish. Now, I selected a video, a PDF, and a Word document. Now, in the background, what's happening is the platform is indexing the information that was created when I uploaded that. So all the content of the PDF or the Word document, all of that's being indexed. And to be able to search to find information easier, I can also just click on this, and now I can see this. If I click on the media, I can see it, right? So, and if it's a Office document, it'll download it for me, and I can go ahead and view it from my local drive. So a PDF file, I can see it inside of here as well. I can scroll up and down. I could add comments, so actually let's add some comments to it. So if I click on it, I click on the information tab, I can see the information here, and I can select comment, and I can just go ahead and post them. Now, the comment is against here, it's not to somebody specifically, but everybody that is here will be able to see it. Down here at the bottom, I have a view toolbars. I can go ahead and view, zoom in, zoom out, say fit. I can go to the next page. I can rotate counterclockwise, right? So I have different viewer tools, and I can say continuous scrolling, right? So how do I want to be able to see it? Things like that as well. Search for text, right? And then annotation commands. So if I wanted to highlight something or add something and circle it, and then maybe publish that to the community, right? So I would select my community, and I would say, right? And I can go ahead and say publish. Now that image with that circle will be added to my community as well. So it gives me a way to mark up things like that on the fly and be able to see those. So there's my image that I just created just from reviewing the PDF file. So if I select it, I can look at my comments. So one of the other nice areas is I can create conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and create a conversation with a user or two. So I'm going to say I want to be able to communicate with the engineer and the designer. So I can add multiple people in here, up to 12 users. And I'm going to say spreader. And go. Now I have created a conversation with two people on the spreader design and sent them a message. So inside of here, they will get notifications that they have those as well. So I go back to my community. And if you can also, if there's a post that you like, you can simply hit your like button. I can also, if mention somebody, I can do the @ symbol, mention somebody, right? And be able to tag them in here, and they will get a reply or a notification of that as well. Now down here again, this is one of the videos that I uploaded. We'll see if it's processed. It is. So now that the media has been processed on the back end, I can now view it, and anybody who has access to the community will be able to see this video as well. The idea is to be able to show them important information or share or collaborate with information in one place, right? There we go, right? And again, I can filter on media. Now that I have more media, I can see here. And if I click on the gallery, now in the gallery, I see all the media I have in this community. What we saw is the use of 3DEXPERIENCE in communities with types of posts and filtering using analytics, ideas, questions, and surveys. Now we will use in this next presentation, we will use the collaboration task. As the manager, we will see the Kanban layout and options. We will create tasks, add attachments for reference, and assign them and mature them into the to-do state for others. So we're going to work with some tasks now. In collaborative tasks, the collaborative task widget gives you the ability to create tasks for yourself, for others, multiple people, or things that need to be done. So first off, what we're going to look at is the widget layout. We have the create a taskbar, the to-do, in work, and completed. And this is a Kanban style. So if I look at the filter by, I can say status, maturity, due date. So if I look at the maturity, you'll see that the Kanbans will change to draft, to do, in work, and approval, completed. And then let's look at due date as well. And you'll see overdue, no date, today, tomorrow, next, this week, and future. So we'll go ahead and change it back to status. So what we're going to do as the manager, first off, is we're going to create a task for the designer to create the spreader. So all I have to do is click in the box and say create, and I'm going to say add. Now you'll know it puts it in the to-do, and it's not assigned to anybody, and it's sitting in a state of draft. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. So from here, I have the property information, the people it's assigned to, comments, and classifications if you have it. With the status, if I can complete it, I can do a copy link to it, things like that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and finish filling out this task. I'm going to give it a description, maturity date draft. I want it 11th. I could say 2 days, right? So any attachments that I have, I can say upload or search. So I'm going to search for the one. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this one. Okay. So there's the hydraulic rescue document as attachment. I'm going to have the designer attach the assembly as a deliverable when they get done. So if we look at the more actual dates created, I'm going to go ahead and select on the people, assign it to the designer. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now it's still sitting in draft. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to go ahead and change my view again to maturity. So I'm going to take and move this to do, just so I can show you the different stages. Now I want to go ahead and create one more and say review. I'm just going to use the task for doing it. So the review, the title, review the spreader assembly. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to assign this to the engineer and leave it as that. Deliverables, leave that, and then pick the person, an assignee, and I'm going to say engineer because I want the engineer to review it. Now I'm going to click save, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in to do as well. We saw with the creation of the task with attachments, due dates, and assignees, and the ability when those assignees, the task was moved into the to-do state, the assignees got notifications that they had tasks to do, and in their dashboard, they would then see tasks that were assigned to them. In this next segment, we will see and use the completion of these tasks as the designer and engineer adding deliverables with a drag and drop and maturing the tasks. Well, now that I'm logged in as the designer, I can see that I have a task to do, create the spreader. So if I click on that task, I can see the information that was given to me. I can see that there is an attachment, so I can download it, and I can view it here. And I can see the document. I'm going to go ahead and start to work on this. So for me, what I want to do is take my task and put it in work to let everybody know that I'm working on this spreader. I'm going to go over my product where we have already loaded the spreader assembly into the platform. I'm using the product explorer to be able to see it. And the one thing I want to be able to do is to signal to everybody that I am complete, or I am done with the model assembly for the spreader. So it's as easy as I can just drag this from here to my task. When I select my task, there's my deliverable. So simply dragging and drop it from one widget to the next into the task, it put it on the deliverables. So now that I've completed my assembly, I'm going to actually assign this to, the Razorleaf engineer. And click save, close, and I'm just going to drag and drop this to an approval. So now we're back in as the engineer to review and complete the tasks for reviewing the spreader. So what I can see is that to do in my Kanban style task management, I see the review of spreader that was assigned to me, that is to do. And I also see that the create spreader was assigned to me and that is in approval. So the review of the review task, I'm going to go ahead and put it into work just to let everybody know that I am actually reviewing it. And under the review spreader, if I went back into here, look at the properties, remember what the designer did was add the deliverable, right? So under the create spreader, there's a deliverable and it's here. So what I want to do to review it is to be able to view it. So if I can do a couple things. I can click on here and say preview. I can say open with, 3D markup, navigate different ways. But for right now, let's just take and drag and drop it to my view tab into my 3D Play viewer. Have different tools. I can use the explode. I can go back to rotate, move things around, right? This is something very powerful to be able to move things from one point to the next, as well as be able to zoom in, zoom out, and actually fly through objects, which is very powerful. So if you were looking for an interference, maybe of a circuit board inside of a case or something like that, as you zoom through that body, you actually see the content, you see the structure and everything else inside of there. And then be able to go back to it again. We'll go ahead and rotate this again, and I'm looking at a view different ways. So again, we can do a section view from here as well. You can change how you section, the different angles, that kind of stuff. You can point it and be able to do things as well. And again, if I wanted to, I could just do a quick annotation in here. Now, this is one way to view it, and I'm going to go ahead and go off of here. I'm going to go back to my tasks, and I've reviewed it. So now that I'm satisfied with the model and things like that, I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I can just say complete. And that will complete the tasks and my in work. I can go ahead and say, I can change my view again and look at the status. And if I had the manager assign me the task to review it, I could put this in approval and then assign this to the manager and have the manager finalize it if I wanted to. So I can do that and then change the assignee to manager, right? So assign it to manager and save it. And then now the manager can review that I reviewed it. So anyway, we won't go through all that, but you can see the ability to manage these tasks is very easy, very simple, and very powerful at the same time. So and to close out the task management portion of this, back in as a manager, and I see that there's two pieces here. I see that the create a spread assembly is completed, and again, I can come over here and look at this and say preview, that I can see it. But yep, everything looks good to me. Great. So I'm very happy with that. Close, and then the approval one, sure, it looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and complete this task as well. So now all the tasks are complete. And again, if I want, I can go back to status. We'll see the same things as completed, things like that as well. So in this presentation, we saw the designer, the engineer, and the manager collaborate to create and complete tasks, and the ability to add deliverables, view the models with 3D Play, and use the zoom, section, explode tools to validate the design to complete tasks. In the next section, we'll look at the document management app, utilizing, we will see the layout, the maturity status, revision status, and creating revisions. Also, the responsibility and ownership of the ability to view and download documents. Okay, I'm logged back in as the designer. I want to look at the document management app. So we'll do a little navigation, and then we'll do a couple functions. So here in the document management app, there's a sidebar, my documents. So if I select that, I see all the documents that I've created. I can select upload. I can click on favorites. I can also see all documents. Now, I like the all documents view. If I collapse that and then I scroll over, I can see the maturity state, who owns it, if it's locked and locked by whom. If I click the menu item, I can do a preview, I can get information, things like that. So any type of data that's here, any references, things like that, I will show up here as well. I can do a share, and then attachments and things like that as well. So the usual panel here is information, and everything else is here, the same like for every object in the platform, you can get to the information. So as I look at everything here, I can see that there's some that are released, some that are in work. You'll notice that this one has a red X and it's under the is latest revision column. So this document management document here has revision 0 and revision 1. So revision 0 is in work and revision 1 is in work as well. So you can see it's able to manage the same document with different states with different revisions. So first off, let's go ahead and upload a new document. I'm going to select the upload and I'm going to choose this document and just say upload. Document is created, it's uploaded, and it's this document here that I've created. There's not going to be a preview here. It's a document, so if I wanted to see it, I would simply select it, say download, and then open it from here. And the document is here. I downloaded it. So it doesn't, it's just a document that I created. It is here. Now, once I'm done with it, I can say, let's go ahead and mature the object, and I'm just going to go ahead and set it to frozen. So all your collaborative lifecycle information is done right from here as well. And then I can do a release on this as well if I want to. Now, you could put these through change management and get approvals through routes and things like that as well, but that's beyond the scope of the demonstration for today. Now, if I want to create a revision, I can right mouse click on it and say revisions, and it'll show me all the revisions that have been done, or I can come here again and I can say new revision. Now with the new revision command, it's going to update the revisions to the next one. And now you'll see I have two objects. One is released, one is in work, and I have the new object. So here again, now I could download this again. I could select update. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here and I'm going to make an update to it. All right, so my update is successful. So let's go ahead and look at it just to make sure. So I'll download it. I'll open it up, and that should say the revision name in it now. There you go. Now, if I look at the previous one, and if I say download this one, it won't have the revision 1 in it. So you can see it will manage the documents accordingly. Now, once I'm done with this one, I can select the maturity state and I can say frozen, and it sets it to frozen. Now, the one that's revision 0, I could mature it as well and set it to obsolete. Now that one's obsolete, and now I could release this one if I wanted to. Now again, we could do this all through change control and things like that, or change actions, change management, but that's not the focus for today. So document management allows me to create and manage any type of document that I want to. It gives me the ability to mature it right from here. You have access to all the menus and everything else, the information and stuff like that. So if I look at revision structure, it'll show me the revision structure of the object and things like that. So the revision tree is visible. So again, document management is available to all the CSV licenses. I can change my sort, view, edit. Now, if I do say, if I have one of these, let's say in work here, I can select on edit. And what it does is it locks it to me, right? So simply by saying edit, it will lock it to you. Now I can say undo edit and it will take the lock off. Now, interesting enough, this one says it's under edit by RE, the engineer. Now I'm the owner of this, so I could also come by and say undo edit and it'll take it off. But that's because I'm the owner of the object, so I have that capabilities. 3D Player, the viewer supports the document type. Then I can select here and I can say view, preview, and I can view it here as well. So like office documents and that kind of stuff, you have to download them and then them in the native application. Okay. So in this presentation, we saw the use of the document management to create, manage, view, and revise documents using the document management app. In this next segment, we're going to use searching. the search tools on the platform to search for objects using the 6W tags to filter the results, create search favorites, pin them to the dashboards and tabs. Okay, so to close this out, let's look at how we search the platform. So up here at the top, we have the ability to type in here and create searches. We also have the ability to have what's called favorite searches, search in current tab, so anything in the current tab. So I can do help on shortcuts. What are the different types of things? So these are names that you could use, like 2DC, right? And then it will search for that type, right? So help on shortcuts, a CAD drawing. I could put in CAD drawing, and it would put that in as a type, and then I could search for that, and it would be only on that. So for right now, I'm going to do two different searches. I'm going to search for stock car, and I'm going to search for spreader. So stock car, I'm going to search for, and here's my results. So the result I get, what I want to do is add this to a favorite, because I'm working on projects for these things, and I want to continuously reuse this search in the future. So I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it a stock car search, and I'm going to say OK. Favorite search successfully created, and I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go do another search, and this time I'm going to search for spreader. And again, it gives me my results, and I can click on here and say favorite search, and I'm going to call this spreader objects. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now it tells me it was created as well. Now it might take a little bit for this to show up, but so while it's doing our indexing, while it's doing that, we can change our view. We can go to a textual view. We can go to tile views. We can look at data grid view. So you can change your search results in many different ways. You can change the sort order by relevance, modification, title. You can also turn on your 6W tags. Now 6W tags make it so that you can filter very easily based on different things, like the type, like a document. So if I select document, there's 6 of those, and it shows me the tag I have selected, so I'll unselect that. I can go by who created it, right? So if I select on Razorleaf Engineer, it'll show me on the objects that for Razorleaf Engineer. So I'm going to close that, take that tag away. I can also search for things created in North America or specific collaborative space, what it is, what type. Now, one of the other kind of interesting things is to be able to look at file types, let's say. If I look at file types, I can click on this button and I can say, show me a pie chart view of it, and it color codes this to show me the different ones. Now, if I also look at maturity state, this is very interesting because now I can do the same thing here. I can say, show me things that are in different maturity states, and it's not just a pretty pie chart. So if I click on the yellow, it actually filters down to that. Click on it again, it'll take it away. So again, using your 6W tags is a very good way to filter down objects very quickly to be able to understand what's there or not. And again, I can change my view, I can change my sort, ascending or descending. I can look at statistics or a bar chart view, a pie chart view, whatever makes sense for you. Okay? If it's in a bookmark or context, classification, manufacturable, these are all things that you can use to filter down your results. So I'm going to go ahead and close this result set. And what I want to look at is my search favorites. So let's go ahead and pull up a favorite search. So if I click on favorite searches, I see 2 of them, spreader objects and stock car. So let's go ahead and double click our spreader objects. And what I want to do is pin it to dashboard. Now it's going to ask me what dashboard and what tab. So I'm going to click on that one, and it adds this to here. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here, scroll. So I'm going to go back to my favorite searches again, and I want to see stock car. There it goes. Now I'm going to do the same thing, pin to dashboard, the same one. Now I've got 2 search results here, and it's fine because it's what I'm looking for. So I want to be able to refer back to some of my favorite searches and have them in one place, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say fit here. So now I have my search results for here, the different objects and things like that. And if I wanted to open one of these or preview them, I can just say preview, and there it is, right? So I can use my favorite searches in a dashboard tab to be able to go back and forth to these at any time. And they'll be up to date all the time. And just to kind of look at how this works is when I added these objects to the platform, it indexed the information, not just the attributes or file name and things like that, but the content of the files. So remember, I searched for stock car, but if I look at this document and click on information, there's really nothing in here that says stock car. So how did it come across this document? Why did it bring this up? Why did this show up in the search, right? So if I look at this document, the information, there's nothing there, but if I do Control F and I just type in stock car, you'll notice that stock car is a phrase inside of the document, right? So that's how it found or indexed the information when this document was loaded. It's able to search for content, not just based on the attribute or something like that, but actually content inside of there, right? So in this presentation, we used the 6W tags and the analytics with pie charts and bar charts, created search favorites, pinned the results to the dashboards for reuse later, and how the platform utilized indexing on the content, not just defined attributes. And I thank you very much for your time during this presentation. Mike, back to you.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
You're good?
All right. Thanks, Kip. So as a summary of today's 3D Experience Collaboration Essentials webinar, you've seen how using the foundational roles of IFW and CSV enables clear, concise, and consistent communication across the enterprise landscape. You've also seen how users can collaborate and communicate using intuitive web-based apps that drive product innovation. At this time, we'll open it up for a Q&A session, so please enter your questions into the chat window and we'll try to answer them.
Great, we do have a few questions lined up already, so thank you everyone for listening in and sharing your questions. A couple real quick ones. What does 3D Swimmer stand for?
Well, 3D Swimmer doesn't stand for anything anymore, or it doesn't really stand for anything, but SWIM is sort of an acronym. See what you mean is what the SWIM acronym was all about. And 3D Swimmer is the new name of the IFW role. So the IFW role used to be, some other sets of words, and now it's called 3D Swimmer as of 2023X.
And great, thanks. And what version of 3D Experience were we looking at here?
Kip, what were you using?
22X FD5.
And that was on premise, not the cloud version.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And we did have a question, Kip, for you. Jeff had a question about the task attachments. Can you search for the task attachments within 3D Experience?
Yes, you can. And be able to search for them and maybe look at the task itself or the references or relationships from those objects.
Okay, great. I'll get some more questions coming in. Wait 1 second. And then is there any way on reviewing the change management decision tree on here? Asks Miguel. So the question was, is there any way on reviewing the change management decision tree on here? I'm not sure we touched on that or not.
Well, I can speculate a little bit on if he's referring to the maturity graph, the life cycle state. Yes, it can be reviewed. We didn't really use any change governance, so there's nothing to review there. But if we did use a change governance, then there would be, sort of an impact analysis and affected items and those sorts of things would be part of that.
Great. Another question from John. How does Razorleaf fit in? Are the features we saw customizations done by Razorleaf or out of the box 2022X?
Right. So all of the capability that Kip demonstrated is all out of the box capability. We didn't, other than do configuration of users and the roles, that's really all we did. And where Razorleaf fits in all of this is, you know, we're a service provider. We can deploy 3DEXPERIENCE either on premise or on AWS or Azure or even cloud for that matter. So you know, we're a PLM services provider, so that's where we fit in.
Great. And then another question here. So what does it take to get started using these features? If you're using the platform for basic product management, what configuration is required to begin using these collaboration features?
Okay, well, there's a couple of parts of that question. I'm going to break it apart. So everything that Kip showed can be done with a combination of either IFW, so any of the swim, the 3D swim things that he did, or even really search, can be done just with IFW. Then any of the collaboration type things that he did, where he was, you know, marking things up or doing document man and any kind of authoring type capabilities, would require the CSV role. So I believe that takes care of that question.
Okay, great. Question from John. Will there be a future webinar of collaboration with users without access to the platform?
We certainly could entertain it, and where we could go with that is a couple of ways. One is if we were looking at 3DEXPERIENCE Cloud, it has the capability of using a feature called 3D Drive. It's only available on cloud, the SaaS model. And 3D Drive can be hooked to Google Docs or OneDrive, so that you could conceivably collaborate with people who don't have access to 3DEXPERIENCE. So by having the files in those 3D Drive areas. The other way would be potentially to use something like our Clover technology and you know, one of our Clover solutions like Collect It, which would enable you to create a data package, what we call a TDP, a technical data package, and export that to send to a vendor or a supplier or something like that.
Yeah, that might be an interesting live LinkedIn Live type session. Maybe we could try, and we want to kind of show that feature. We're going to be trying to integrate that in as well as we go forward. Okay, another question here from John. What is the best way to mark up drawings or 3D designs during the change review cycle?
Well, there's a couple ways that you can do it. You can do it with CSV and 3D markup, and capture an image of your markup and attach that into a collaborative task or a community or whatever you want to do. You can share that idea. You could also use some of these would be other roles outside of what we're talking about. Remember, the portfolio is pretty big. But the DMU roles, the digital mockup roles, are very powerful and allow you to do markups and save the markups inside of the record, and that would be sort of more appropriate for a formalized change to capture the markup and keep it with the change, you know, the change process. I don't know, Kip, you have anything more to add to that?
I was going to say the 3D markup widgets are very powerful. They've made a lot of improvements over the past releases. Even with 3D markup, you can create slides, you can explode the object into different views, you can section it, do a lot of markup and annotations just using the 3D markup app itself. So that's a very powerful app, and they've improved it over each generation or each release of the platform. So that's my favorite go-to tool for markups without going into a 𝘼𝘽𝙊𝙿𝙃 or a heavier application like EMU.
Great, thanks. A couple more questions here. One from Brian. We saw the integration and attachability from the design side from various platforms. Is there any integration on the manufacturing side, MES or integrated tools, as an example, to feedback and revision control and compare as built versus as designed? Would you like me to repeat that?
No, I understand the question.
Okay.
And within the 𝘼𝘽𝙊𝙃 brand, there's capabilities to have service bombs, and in fact, I think, Kip, there's a new role for a service bomb. So that capability does exist. But when you ask your question in such a broad way with MES, I mean, are we talking maybe a 𝘼𝘽𝙊𝙃? And then there's lots of things within 𝘼𝘽𝙊𝙃 that could apply. So we could actually probably have a year-long webinar on unpacking 𝘼𝘽𝙃. So yes, I believe that capability does exist in the 𝘼𝘽𝙃 brand.
Okay. Anything to add there, Kip? Are you good?
Yeah, I think in the product definition as well, the as-built kind of scenario, there's some product configurations. If you think about like airplane serial numbers that are tail number driven, things like that. So the configuration of the product, managing that configuration or using derivatives or evolutions of different things. There's several other ways to manage that as well, which would then also carry out to your MBOM and plant specific maybe and things like that too.
Great, thanks. And we have another question from David. Can customization be done by users, or does it require support?
Well, I can answer that facetiously and say yes, it can be done if you have the proper training. And then I'll answer it in a more serious way. So depends on the customization. If you're talking about schema and behavior, you might be able to carry out customization using TXO, for instance, which is the data specialization role. And in fact, that's really the way Dassault wants customizations to be conducted, so that you don't break the platform for future upgrades and so on and so forth. The customization topic is complicated. You might say that, oh, I just want to create my own widget and be able to look at data in a different way. That's kind of a different kind of customization, and requires different technologies and tools like HTML5 and those types of things. And then there's, if you have a customization, what I'd call like the legacy type customization in the web apps area, like the old centrals or whatever you want to call it, where you have JPOs and JSPs or forms or tables and things of that nature. So when you say customization, it's really not for the faint of heart. You do have to know what you're doing, and we would recommend that you work with somebody. And if you work with those people, if you have the capability, if you think you have the right skill set to take on some of that yourself, I would recommend that you do it with a service provider so that you learn how to do it the right way.
Great. Another question in, from Brian. Is there an easy way to manage access control and need to know? And how do you prevent classified information spillage or data considered classified by association if the search returns data from within documents? It's a bit of a big question. Would you like me to repeat?
Yeah, well, I can answer it sort of in layers.
Okay.
So the first part of the question, which is access control, and the platform has a very sophisticated, but not complicated, I don't think, although some people might think it's complicated, but it's quite sophisticated access control. And it begins with what we call P&O, people and organization. So you have an organizational structure that people belong to, and then you have things called collaborative spaces, which are, think of it as a kind of a container where information is going to go into, and people are going to be assigned to that. And part of that assignment is known as context. And so you belong to an organization, you're a particular person, you have a particular role like author or contributor or reader or leader or owner in a particular collaborative space. And a collaborative space could be created and marked as private. So only people who are assigned to that collaborative space will see information that's in that collaborative space. So if you don't belong to that and you do a search like Kip was doing his searches, data that's in that collaborative space is not going to be even viewable by you. And so outside of that, then they have other modules that you can deploy, like intellectual property and export control. So IP protection and export control, these are separate modules, but they work really similarly to one another. And you can create classifications that you can assign to different records, and then you can set up countries and determine, hey, I'm, in Canada. Well, then you shouldn't see, or better yet, I'm in, someplace in Europe or APAC or something, and because of where I'm at, I shouldn't see certain data, and so that's how IP protection works. And then export control has to deals with, do you have the appropriate certificate or license in order to gain access to the data, and setting those things up is a little more complicated. It takes more planning because you got to set up the classifications properly and configure the people properly. But to your question about the content, that I don't know specifically. I don't know if you can slap a filter, because the way the filtering works is 3D search. The 3D space index is a complete index. And so when somebody searches, they hit the entire index, and then the platform puts filters in front of that data so that whatever the user has access to is the data that they see. So what I'm not certain about is if there's content inside of a document that is classified, whether or not that can be filtered. If you have any idea of that.
Yeah, I think it's document level, but at that part. But I know that in some cases they will and we can research a little bit more. But the 3D indexing, I've seen in some cases where they won't do that because of some things are more secure. One thing that you mentioned is the classifications on objects. In the IP and the P&O, they create classifications on people as well. So you kind of alluded to that, what country you're in and things like that. But there's also what rules you put on people and things like that in those modules to be able to say that they can or can't do certain things, or there's a limited time that they can or can't do, exceptions and things like that. So you can apply those on people, which then, based on the classifications of documents, they may or may not see those.
Now, I don't think it goes into the content specifically, but I think it's at the document level that would restrict them at that.
Okay, great. Well, we are 1 minute over time here, so I want to respect everyone's time, and thank you for those hanging in there. I think we just have one more slide to go through, Mike.
Yep. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending our first Unpacking 3D Experience webinar. We hope we've unpacked a bit of the 3D Experience platform for you today. Our next Unpacking 3D Experience webinar is scheduled for May 23rd, and the topic is using 3D Swim as your organizational change management hub. Additionally, Razorleaf will be attending co-experience in Miami, Florida next week, Sim Data PLM Roadmap in Tysons Corner, Virginia in May, and 𝘼𝘼𝙊𝙃 in Atlanta, Georgia, also in May. Thank you very much.
Great, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and we will be sending out this recording shortly. Have a great afternoon.